Emperor Karl Franz is the leader of the crumbling empire of man, attacked on all sides by hordes of greenskins, the endless legions of the undead, and the demonic forces of the gods of chaos. It is your job to protect your lands, secure your empire, and destroy those that would seek to harm your people. Karl himself is not a great wizard or the greatest fighter of his era, but still puts his life on the line every day at the head of his troops, helping keep his armies safe, and that's what makes him great. Welcome, you are about to play my favorite campaign in the game. Let me guide you through the early game on this video on very hard difficulty, what moves to make, who to be friends with, and how do you defeat your enemies. Karl Franz is a campaign with a lot of variation and a lot of choices. I'm going to show you my personal path, but at the end of the day, the advice and the tips and tricks that I'm going to give in this video can apply regardless of which direction you want to go in. Genuinely, it is one of the best campaigns in the game, not because it is the easiest, but because you really can just do so much and it makes them so wonderful to play. A little bit of warning for those of you who are using the Recruit Defeated Legendary Lords mod. It actually breaks Karl's campaign and ends up actually causing a lot of issues. So whenever you are prompted to confederate a minor faction that died, just decline and only do it for the major factions. That's what you want to do anyways. The first thing you will want to do at the start of any Karl Franz campaign is check if you can hire a Lordwood noble. If you can, then buy him immediately. It will make such a difference for your campaign that I'm only half joking when I recommend restarting if you don't have one. If you choose to load a character in with the trait, it won't trigger on the first turn. So what you can do is move the Lord into the river, then back into Altdorf. That triggered a change of regions, allowing the trait to trigger a turn earlier. In the late game, you will be able to get more lords and heroes with the noble trait, and those effects will stack, so make sure to keep them. Fight your first battle manually, as the auto-resolve will usually kill a unit either in this fight or in the next one, and you will take a lot of casualties. Start by positioning your mortars and your guns on the hill like this, so they get a high ground, then position your infantry in front to protect them. Leave gaps in between the lines, so the guns can still shoot when the units get close. Keep Karl with his men, and place your cavalry over to the left. Wait for them to move up on you while you shell them. You will want to use your cavalry to take out their crossbows like this. When the lines finally get together, make sure to use Karl's buffing ability and have Karl take on the Lord. You should win this fight easily. Remember that on harder difficulties, the auto-resolve will usually over-exaggerate your losses. Then rinse and repeat for Castle Reichsguard. Fight it manually and follow the same principles. It's another very easy fight. Once you captured it, you will want to sell Castle Reichsguard to the Court of Night for some cash. Do not sign a non-aggression pact with them, and immediately make Elspeth pay you to declare war on that minor faction and retake it. Because there's a different faction type, you being a human faction and them being an undead faction, there will be no garrison, and you can take the city back without a fight. Then hire some archers for Karl's army. Now, I'm not going to interrupt the video every 10 seconds and tell you, now build the economy building, now build the growth building. But remember this, every single time you can, you should build in this order. Growth, money, and then you can focus on things like the military buildings. Here's an example of a city on turn 13. You should focus on getting Altdorf to the upper tiers over your smallest settlements, and make sure to always use Open the Gate. Whenever you have the money, build, focus on that over extra armies right now. That same rule applies to Karl and your wizard. For Karl, you want to focus on Root Marcher, then Emperor's Finest and Pistol Corps, and then you can focus on his personal line. For your wizard, focus on getting Scouting, which will give you extra items over the course of the game, and then your damaging spell, and in this case, your healing spell, because it's quite useful. But focus on whatever magic you have that is useful to you specifically. For technology, you're going to want to get Grain Silo, then move over to Engineer's Guild. The 10% research rate will add up over the course of the campaign. You then want to move over to State Standard Troops, and then State Issued Armor. Otherwise, you can work on continuous production. It depends on if you need the military boost, that's 15% armor to all infantry, which adds also to your gunners. It's quite useful for auto-resolve, but if you don't feel like you need it, then get with the construction. You will want to get money from Couronne by joining their war on their two minor factions. Get a trade deal from the High King of the Dwarves by attacking his goblin enemy, and finally a trade deal with Kislev by declaring war on hers. Get money from Vlad by declaring war on his minor faction. It doesn't hurt and helps keep him happy until you decide to fight him, but don't expect to ever be friends with him. Take the trade deal with Talabakland, and you should accept the non-aggression from Bastion, who are fighting the dwarves. Do not get the non-aggression treaty with Paravon, the faction fighting the Wood Elves, as you care much more about keeping the Wood Elves on your side than you do about that one Bretonnian minor faction. At the end of turn 1, hire a Lord at Helmgart and hire 1 archer. On turn 2, move Karl and Force March over to Ubersreik. Take the Lord you hired at Altdorf with Noble, and move him over to the city as well. Then take the Lord you just hired at Helmgart and siege the city. When you siege the city with the Helmgart Lord first, you allow Karl Franz to move up to the north side of the city so that he can take Bogenhaven on the next turn. You also move over your Lord from Altdorf to join everyone, and then you can auto-resolve or fight manually. Make sure you add your wizard to the Lord that is attacking the city first so that he gets the most experience. Before you start the fight, make sure to use Commendation on Karl so that he's on a horse. Because the AI at Ubersreik will have a lot of missile units, it is best that you motivate it to come to you using your wizard and Karl in the cavalry. If the AI takes enough damage, they will stop taking a defensive stance and come towards you. Obviously, their cavalry will come first, and that will be a good opportunity for Karl and your cavalry to jump them. The Reiksguard are the key unit of Karl Franz's starting army. They're able to deal with any other cavalry you will face at this stage of the game and will massively overpower these Empire Knights. Then, use them to deal with the mortars and the missile units. Make sure that they stay alive. You will need them in the future to deal with Khazrak, Festus, and later Vlad's hounds and other flankers. I've already mentioned how you need to use your wizard at the start of the fight, but remember, regardless of which kind of wizard you get, all of them will have their uses and you should use them during the battle. If you have a damage wizard, make sure to make good use of that, and if you have a support wizard of some kind, make sure to boost relevant units. If you don't have a damaging wizard at the start of the fight, then boost up your cavalry or Karl and have them do the damage to trigger the fight. Remember, this is turn 2. Even if your wizard doesn't immediately do damage right now, he absolutely will in the future. So keep him alive, level him up. He's one of your most important pieces that is very hard to replace at this stage of the game. Next up, we have your handgunners. They are the MVPs of your army. They will do most of the damage and really win you this fight. If you don't have a hill like you do in the first fight, you want to make sure that they have space in between your infantry to shoot cleanly. So make a little bit of space, not enough so that the enemy can't get to your guns, but enough for them to be able to shoot out and do damage. Remember, if your guns are shooting, you will probably winning the fight. If they manage to stop your guns from shooting, or worse, they manage to kill your guns, you're really going to have a miserable time at any stage of an Empire campaign. Now let's talk about your infantry. Remember, the important part about Empire infantry is that their job is not actually to kill anything. Their job is to protect the things that actually do the killing in your army. So your wizard and your guns and your archers. That makes the Empire Spearmen one of the best units you can have at this stage of the game. Because at the end of the day, they have really, really good melee defense for their tier, but they don't actually need to do damage. You don't care about that. They need to hold a line, deal with any flankers that come through, and just let your guns and your archers and your wizard do the actual heavy lifting. If they are doing that, they're doing great. Don't invest in things like great swords or anything like that, because they will just massively underperform compared to similar units from other factions. Here's the thing to remember with the Empire Mortar. It is entirely, undeniably terrible. Elspeth gets to start with a Hellstorm rocket battery and you get that thing. Even ignoring how bad they aim naturally, on higher difficulties the AI will actually will dodge your shots very easily. So, it is useful for one thing: stagger the enemy's approaches and wait for the enemies to lock into melee with you. Then you can take shots. The other really useful thing it can do is while it is taking shots at their missile infantry and then they are dodging the shots, those missile infantry will not be taking shots at you. So mostly use it as a harassment unit and just generally something that don't expect it to actually do heavy lifting. If there is a big blob, you can kind of expect it to relatively hit the target, but at the same time, it will probably be doing some friendly damage along the way. It is unironically a unit that the AI will probably use better than yours, and that's why you need to shut down their mortar, because you are going to be too busy to be dodging all of the mortar shots unlike them. Finally, you have your Empire Archers. The good news about them is that you don't actually need line of sight, so keep them behind your infantry out of the way. They don't have a lot of armor piercing, so make sure that they are shooting at the chaff infantry and don't hyper-focus on small entities like lords which have a lot of armor, and later high-end chaos troops. That's not their job. They're here to kill the trash. Remember, the key to an Empire victory at any stage of the game is to keep a nice formation and don't let people get to your missile units and your mortars, and you will win this very cleanly with minimal losses, as you can see here. That's a lot better result than the AI would have given me an auto-resolve. After winning Ubersreik, you will want to consolidate your army under Karl's leadership, and then take the lord you hired at Helmgart and send him over to Bloodkeep to colonize it. Once he has taken it over, you can fire him as you no longer need him. You will keep the noble lord hired as he's useful in Altdorf. Assuming the Ubersreik fight went as well as it did for me, then you can afford to take Bogenhafen on auto-resolve. The good news about Karl, and the thing that everyone actually forgets about him, is that you will replenish units inside neutral territory, such as other Empire lands, so you can immediately move out from Bogenhafen into Middenline territory and still be replenishing units, and you will also not take any diplomatic penalties for doing so. Right now, we're on our way to help Boris Todbringer and Mindenheim. After about turn 3 to 4, once you've captured your whole province, you'll reach the point where the game will become entirely random. What I did won't necessarily apply to you going forward, but still, you're in a really good position and follow what I did as a suggestion, not as a step-by-step guide. Boris usually gets completely wiped out, but because we're way ahead of schedule thanks to the time we saved on turn 2, we're able to come in much quicker and help him out. You want to move an in-camp stance until you're 100% sure it's clear, because getting ambushed by Khazrak will be 100% disastrous. If you don't get ambushed and you can move next to his cities, it's very safe. Now here I thought I was being very smart. I positioned myself next to the city, and I declare war on the Greenskin so that I helped them out. What I thought would happen is that the Greenskins would try to attack and we would double team him. What I didn't expect to happen is that Boris would run out of the city, die, and then the Greenskins attack the city anyways and then lose to me. I probably could have fought that out manually, but I decided not to take that risk. They did have quite a lot of units and you don't want them to get past your infantry line. But luckily it's only 2 units lost and a hell of a lot of unexpected experience. Ignore your first quest battle. You really do not want to get vision on Norska, I will explain later. Then, keep moving up an in-camp stance until you're sure of the goat's location. We finally found Khazrak, and the good news is he hasn't even destroyed Mindenheim yet. So I move up, hoping that the AI is dumb enough to attack both of us at the settlement. It'd be an easy win. Now, the Khazrak AI is stupid, but not stupid in the way I expected. For some reason, he decides to camp out next to the city, so I guess that works for me and we decide to attack him. For some reason, when I attack Khazrak here, Mindenheim's garrison doesn't help me. So I auto-resolve the fight, and you might ask me, Max, don't you usually advise that the auto-resolve will give you a worse result? Technically, usually yes, but I don't actually have enough front line to properly hold off the amount of dogs that Khazrak has, even using the Reiksguard and Karl. So you'll get completely overwhelmed and you'll have a really bad time. So just auto-resolve. You don't lose any units. After your victory, you're going to want to keep moving. Normally you'd be able to replenish inside of Festus's lands because you're neutral with him right now, but his corruption will stop that, so stay within Middenline borders. During the end turn, Heinrich Kemmler declares war on me, but ends up losing to Marienburg, so it's actually not a big deal. Now remember on turn 3, I had you send a lord over to the Bloodkeep to colonize it. This is where that finally pays off. Now that you've built it up and you've put a minor red line military building in it, which should only take 1 turn to do, you trade the settlement over to Durfu, who will give you a defensive alliance in exchange. The AI massively overvalues any settlements with a military building in it. Doing this allows you to never have to worry about the Wood Elves for the rest of the game, because a good relation with Durfu will pay off with the other Wood Elves. Without formally declaring war on Festus, I move over to Hergig and Trespass that I'm replenishing. Festus is a really strong auto-resolve, and even in a manual fight, he's a very strong opponent. You do not want to fight his main army inside a city, so claim Hergig and let him come to you. Now that we finally moved into position, make sure that you get someone to pay you for declaring war on Festus. Preferably, you never want to declare war without actually getting paid to do so. At this point, you want to check the balance of power. He clearly still has an army somewhere, so you want to position yourself in Hergig and wait for him to come to you and get maximum benefit out of the fact that you're in a city. It's at this moment that the fat man appears. Karl has a lot of very profitable quest battles, but don't try to do them in the middle of a current fight. For most of Karl's random events, my recommendation is just do what makes the most sense and don't forget to keep doing diplomacy with anyone you can. At this point, there's not a lot to do. I just check my diplomacy, build up my buildings, and just wait for the inevitable. I had this whole big speech prepared about how to properly defend Hergig and take advantage of your gunners on the walls where the dogs can't get to them to shoot the giants and the chaos warriors, and to properly pull back into the city when he finally breaches the gates. But it turns out all of that was useless because at the last minute, Goldfang saves the day. Now, not to be ungrateful to the fat man, but it was probably a winnable fight. Festus is by far the strongest opponent out of the 4 opponents we've done so far in the campaign. He has a very strong magic and very strong units. But using the wall and using the armies we'd get from the wall, we probably could have won that. But hey, I'm not going to complain about easily being able to auto-resolve him. Now, you'll have to deal with the Brass Keep next. You have to balance out the fact that you're taking a lot of attrition from the Nurgle corruption with the fact that you need to get to the Brass Keep as quick as possible, because otherwise you will face a much stronger army there. So I recommend just ignoring the attrition and making a run for it. With those random help and electric count events, make sure to just do the one for money and always take the pardon captives option to get most of your money back. Now, the Festus AI did something incredibly stupid. They hide an extra lord outside of the city, which forces them into a field battle instead of a siege battle, which is a huge benefit for us. This is a good lesson for you in general. Never hire an extra random lord outside of a city or a settlement or anything like that, as it can be attacked. Now, this battle is going to be a good test of everything you've learned so far. While you send Karl out to deal with that single lord, take the rest of the time to position your army in the way we described. Put your infantry in front to hold the line, your gunners towards the back with clear lines of sight, your archers on the side where they don't need to have a line of sight, and your mortars in the middle of the formation. You will then use your cavalry and Karl to deal with all the flankers as they come in. The good news is, because they're coming in as reinforcements, they will come in very gradually over time, and we can shoot them as they come in. Aim your guns at the valuable Chaos Warriors and other big units with a lot of resistances, and then just win this fight on the sheer value. In my case, I had a healing wizard and I made sure to heal up my troops, and then just use whatever wizard you have in the best way you can. It doesn't have to be specifically a 1-to-1, but a metal wizard should be aiming at the armored troops. A fire wizard should just be doing mass AoE damage. It depends on what you have. If you get a clean line of sight on an important unit like the Lord, make sure to take it. Their lords, especially if they're caster lords, are not very strong. So if you can just get a clean shot on them or you can get Karl to fight them, you will win easily and that will help break their morale. Finally, when you win the fight, this is really important, make sure to run every single unit down. The more units you kill on the battlefield, the less likely they will have any garrisons at the settlement and you can take it much more easily. That's not so bad for a fight that was listed as a defeat. Assuming you've properly killed off all of the units at the end of the fight, you should be able to take Brass Keep with no issues and auto-resolve. So in conclusion, we've secured the Altdorf province, we've dealt with Khazrak One Eye while keeping Middenheim alive, and we've dealt with Festus without any losses. Pretty good for the first 13 turns, isn't it? A little note. By now you should be meeting your first Cafe caravans. The moment you make contact with Cafe, you will want to declare war on every single evil faction for large amounts of money and better treaties with them. Rinse and repeat this with the various Cafe factions you meet. Cafe is usually the winner of the Chinese Thunderdome, and you will want to be friends with the winning side. And even if Chaos and the Skaven end up winning, it doesn't matter, as you will never actually come face to face with them. This is a strategy you should be doing with anyone you meet who is far away from you. When you meet the High Elves later on, declare war on all the Dark Elves are fighting for cash. It really doesn't matter. You should have wars with 50 people on the other side of the planet going on at all times. Here's a very important detail for you. While you're taking care of Festus and you're taking care of Khazrak, under no circumstances should you be trying to get vision on Norska. The moment the Norska AI sees you is the moment you've made yourself another enemy up north who will come and attack you. Ideally, once you've dealt with Festus, you're going to be wanting to move down south and dealing with Vlad. You do not want to be starting a northern war for no reason. In the next video, we're going to be focusing around how to deal with Vlad, how to build up your economy, and set yourself up for the future, as well as dealing with your northern threats.